Where we left off in part 3, the young and handsome boxer Enzo Fiermonte had slipped off to go on a secret vacation, leaving his old, controlling, rich wife, Madeleine Astor, at home alone. He was on the SS Roma, sailing to Europe for some big fun. Little did he know that Madeleine used her resources to find out everything about his trip and book a first-class ticket for herself on the same ship. And after her letter-writing campaign of love notes and apologies, he was back in love before the SS Roma reached her destination. But before this love story got wrapped with a cute little bow, Enzo was bragging to his fellow passengers about how he had broken free from the old ball and chain that was Madeleine Force Astor Dick Fiermonte. Would she still have written those love letters to him if she had known how he was talking about her behind her back? Probably. Let's get into it. But first, if you like these videos about the most scandalous people from yesteryear who make Ty's Hot Mess history a time capsule for the culture, subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can know every time that I upload one of these videos or every time that I live stream, and hit the like button to support this video. Thank you. Now, on to why you are here. This daily news story from February 1st, 1935, gives a little more of the backstory on this loving reunion. The article is titled, "Enzo Couldn't Resist Wife's Tender Notes." Now, I just have to wonder, because those gossip columnists were so shady in the 1930s, was this an intentional play on words because both tender and notes mean legal currency or money? And by this point, everyone was well aware that Enzo was far more attracted to Madeleine's money than any other thing about her. So let me know if you think that that writer was being funny with this title. The story makes it clear that for Enzo, the so-called Italian Apollo, this trip was a voyage of escape that somehow turned into a second honeymoon. He became very popular on the ship from day one, and on his first day on the voyage, he was telling all of the strangers in the ship's main saloon that he had made a quote-unquote clean getaway. It was written that he sarcastically waved goodbye to the Statue of Liberty, and then made his way to the ship's gymnasium for a medicine ball workout with the instructor on board. What he told the instructor was in the paper too. Workout grunts included. Quote, "It is marvelous to be free," he said as the heavy ball flew back and forth. "No more private detectives shadowing me. No more gossip. Only Algiers and Marseille and a visit to my first wife and our child. Ah, and I was very smart in slipping out the way I did." End quote. Meanwhile, old dum-dum Madeleine had locked herself in her cabin and committed her time to writing love letters that she was certain would win him back. At some point, those letters were delivered to Enzo's room by a steward who said that Enzo's face went white when he saw who wrote the letters. Then he wrote back to her and they started writing back and forth to each other. After a whole day of writing until midnight, Enzo was adamant in telling Madeleine that he did not want to be with her. They wrote some more letters the next day. Then he reluctantly agreed to meet her for dinner in her cabin. After that dinner, his own cabin was not occupied for the next 2 nights, nor was he seen at the main saloon with the friends he had made on his first day, who were laughing at his jokes about Madeleine. And we know from before that he got around to saying that they were back together, and that he was so happy. In case you didn't know what happened before, parts 1, 2, and 3 are linked in the description box. Now, we know that part of Enzo's plans on his getaway was to see his first wife. Well, Madeleine didn't know that. And when she learned, literally just 1 week after it was reported that they were back in love, it was obvious to see that she didn't like that Enzo was going to see his family back home. As this headline from the February 8th Star Gazette explains, Madeleine cried, lost it, and cut off his allowance. Just the day before, She was confidently telling the press that she and Enzo were going to have big fun in France. Well, what a difference a day makes, because on this day, she was reported as being semi-hysterical, just repeating over and over, "I can't say anything. I don't know anything about this. I don't know what I'm going to do." She said that, but she did quickly figure out one thing to do. She cut off his money. Frankly, at this point, he should have seen that coming, and I don't feel sorry for either one of these people. Madeleine was sad because she didn't have Enzo. Enzo was sad because he didn't have Madeleine's money. But one person was happy, Tosca, Enzo's first wife. She said, quote, "When I met him in Genoa, he was very happy to see me and our child. There were tears in his eyes. We went to a cafe and spent some hours together. Yes, I still love him dearly. I think he loves me. He may come back to me, but not immediately." End quote. My God, what was it about this man? The next few days, there were a number of headlines about Enzo and his first wife meeting each other. All of them expressed something along the lines of Enzo meets wife number 1 and wife number 2 cried about it. Even though he made it clear that he met Tosca and had love for her and his son, he also made it clear that he was staying with Moneybags Madeleine. His mother weighed in and seemed to approve of his decision. She told the Daily News, quote, "My son really loves the American lady a great deal. Although she is older than he, Enzo says she seems much younger than she is." End quote. Something tells me that if Madeleine hadn't been rich, that his mother would not have approved of her son's love match. But she was rich. And even though wife number 1 wanted her husband back from wife number 2, she still had a reason to be happy that Madeleine had entered her life. With the money that Madeleine had sent to Tosca in exchange for her husband, Tosca, the peasant, was able to buy a nice apartment for herself and quit her job at a shirt factory. And she was happy about that. The one who wasn't happy was Madeleine. She didn't like the publicity that she and her husband had been getting on this trip to Italy. All of the papers were really playing up the fact that he would wander about and do as he pleased without his wife. I can understand why she didn't like that, even if it was true, and it was. The news stories were also talking about how much Enzo loved his son, Giovanni. She didn't like that either. That is one part about Madeleine that I just do not like. She really had a problem with the fact that Enzo loved his son. It seems like she just wanted him to be so mesmerized by her money that he would forget that he had a whole family before he met her. Her problem with the way that she was being reported on during the Italian fiasco was that she was being called, quote, "an American millionairess who is jealous." Well, if the shoe fits. But in less than 2 weeks' time, Madeleine would be smiling again because she was going to use the one thing that she had that kept her husband crawling back to her: her money. She would give his wife another 5-figure payday in exchange for Enzo in a once-and-for-all no-backsies deal. And she would buy Enzo a brand new car in exchange for some affection from him for a few days. But we'll talk about that in part 5. It is well documented that Madeleine forced Astor Fiermonte tried her hardest to buy love from Enzo. It is rumored that Mae West acted in a similar way regarding a boxer. The rumor was that they were lovers, but because he was black, he wasn't allowed to see her in her apartment, so she bought the whole building in order to be able to sleep with him. Well, what is documented from her mouth and his is that they were friends, and that's all. She was helping a friend. I published a video about that story that you can see here. I will also leave a link to it in the description box. This video has been brought to you by me. Well, my Patreon is a sponsor for this video. If you like these dirty scandals on my channel, then you'll love my Patreon, Ty's Too Hot Hot Mess History. It has all of the stuff that I can't talk about or show here because it's just too hot, too violent, too sexual, too graphic, too much. Come and join us there for the hot Mess History. The link is in the description box.